Hey everybody, Chris here, and today I come to you with another episode of Desert Island Plugins, and this time it's kind of a cheat, because this is not an essential plugin, but you will see that it can make your life a lot easier, and it's free, so, why not bring it along in the Desert Island? It's not like it's taking any space on a suitcase or something. So this is another free plugin, as I mentioned, and I'm kind of carrying on the trend from the previous episodes. I'm not gonna only cover free plugins, but I do like free plugins which are very focused and do like one thing, and they do it very well, and they do it very streamlined, and they don't take time from your workflow, and they're just you know exactly why you'll use them. And this is one of them. It's called FreeG by Sonalxis. So let's jump into the session. This is the plugin, and as you can see, it is nothing more than a fader. And you're gonna say, okay, why a fader? I have faders here on my mixer. I have a fader here of the channel. I have a fader here. I can adjust the volume here, and whatever other place, whatever DAW you have has assigned to just change the volume of your channel. And that's true. You can have a fader and use this one, and it's perfectly fine. And I've loaded an instance here of Serum, and I've loaded a patch that is just a pulsing pad, and I'm gonna take it out of the way. And of course you can use the fader here to go up and down, and you can do whatever you want. But there are many occasions where you want to record some automation, and let's say I'll just enable automation here and write something, and I've adjusted my Cubase settings so that whenever I write automation, it immediately pops up here. If you're just wondering about that, actually it's let's bring the automation panel here, and you'll find it in the settings here, reveal parameter on write, and that's all you need to tick, and it will show up here. So obviously if I loop this section of the thing, you see that it perfectly responds to this automation, and everything is fine. That's perfectly fine and workable, and if you want to do that, you're free to do it. When this becomes problematic, a lot of people record and produce and then mix in the same session. Imagine that I have, my 4, 5, 50, whatever, 400 tracks, whatever you're having in your session, and and everything is nice, and you've done your automation because you want your synth to, come back and forth, or you have your voice is coming up and down, or you're ducking something away, whatever. But then the overall level of the channel is too loud or too soft, and you want to boost it. And then you have, several places in the piece where you have automation, and I come here in my fader and I drag it up, and as you can see, it doesn't respond. It goes back because it's locked to this automation. So that's a problem for me immediately. I can't make intuitive changes on the fly. And then you have to come here, you have to take this and you have to drag it up and down, and you can say, okay, this is fine. And then you forget that you have this here, then you have to undo, and then you have to select everything. And then you have to drag all of this up and down, and it's kind of a hassle. And then you see that actually it didn't drag the first point, so in the beginning I have to carry this point and bring it also down and whatever, or I have to take my pencil and I just adjust it, or it becomes a little bit of an issue because you don't have immediate access to your fader. And another thing that I like when I'm looking at my mix is that all my faders are at unity level, and if something is turned down or turned up, I want to know that this is intentional. So I like to, when I get to the point that I'm mixing, I like to have everything at unity level and then start tweaking from there, because I know, okay, this is the relative balance that I had during tracking, during producing, and now I can, start bringing things up and down, and then I immediately know, oh, okay, my drums are a little bit higher, I wanted them more punchy, I've taken down my my synths or my bass is up or whatever, my lead is up or down. And I like to have this image immediately represented here in the mixer. And the thing is now, one might say, okay, there are other ways to do it. You can, I don't know, sorry. You can use your gain structure here. Okay, I don't want to mess with this because if I have a bunch of plugins here and I take down or up my gain structure, it will change what feeds into the plugins and it will immediately change the sound, especially with distortion plugins. You can argue that, okay, you might use a VCA fader to adjust the overall thing. You can trim the automation. Yes, these are things you can do. A VCA fader, I prefer to use it on grouped things, you know, like multi-mic'd drums, a bunch of pads that are kind of doing the same thing, so I might want to move them all together at once. But usually when I just want to have the freedom of changing one particular track and keeping all this kind of automation movement intact, I just want to, you know, do it on the fader. I just want to come here and drag my fader up and down and without losing all this movement. So this is where this free fader plugin comes in. Instead of doing movement automation on the main fader of the channel, I can just do it here. So, you know, I'll come here and do it like that. And here's my volume. And as you can see, it does the same thing, but now I have the luxury of coming here and saying, oh, overall this pad is a bit too loud, so I can just take it down. And it's as simple as that. I have kept this automation intact, the relative movement stays intact, but I've lowered my whole thing by whatever amount, or boosted it by whatever amount I want. So you can see how this is super useful. I hope this has proven my point. And now I'm gonna talk about why this particular plugin instead of any other gain plugin. First of all, it has a really low stamp on my CPU, which I like. Kind of looks good. It has a nice meter, but also has some other things that might immediately be usable. I mean, you know, you can flip your phase, you can mute. You can see here there's a fine button, which I really like this. Look at the scale of the fader when I hit fine. You see how it changes, and now I can do finer adjustments. And the interesting thing is that these fine adjustments do not change how this automation works. So if I'm on fine mode, doesn't mean that this also adjusts to fine mode. The movement stays the same. So it doesn't affect any automation I've written. And if I click here, you can see the settings, and you can see that I can set my fine range. So I can have a real, like a 6 dB plus minus fine range, which is really, really fine. You can do really sweet adjustments using your mouse, which sometimes is not the best way to handle faders. But with this one, you can easily do it. You can set the default mode to fine if you want. You can set what it's called ballistics. It's basically how the feedback that you're gonna get here on the metering. The trim range. Trim is this thing. So there's an additional, let's say, gain button. There are some meters here, the peak and the RMS. There's panning, and panning comes with its own pan law. So you can just change anything and hit apply. And that's it. It's just a really simple plugin. In my non-orchestral template, I have this preloaded on all of my channels. So I can, you know, immediately run to it. I don't even have to load it. It doesn't take any CPU, it's just there. It doesn't cost anything to have it, and it does its job really well. So there you have it. It's the FreeG by Sonalxis. You can, I think that you used to be able to download this as a standalone. Recently, they have made a downloader that has all their plugins, and you can demo them, and this one is included. It's free, it's not a demo. All right, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll be back for more probably after the summer now, so have a good one.